How you doing, guys? Welcome to LSPTV Pod Cast. Today we're going to be discussing, are reflection tokens fair? So this is something that I've been wanting to discuss for quite some time. Obviously, you guys know that I'm in the reflection token space, so I discuss quite a few projects. And I want to talk about reflection inconsistency because this is something that comes up quite frequently. I see it a lot in Discords, in Telegram groups, and so on, where some make great reflections on a daily basis and some people make terrible reflections, right? Now, on the surface of that, the first thing that comes to mind is those who make good reflections have, very large, bag sizes, and those who make, very small reflections or terrible reflections, have very small bag sizes. But I want to take a closer look at this because I really feel that investor psychology plays a massive role in the end result. So in the initial moment when somebody buys a reflection token, yes, there are variables like depending on when we buy, will depend on how much we get. If we're early enough, we get more and so on. And this is all great, but ultimately there are definitely some factors that are in play that prevent people from taking advantage of reflection tokens in a way that I feel they are missing and that they could do. Okay, so if you're making good reflections, and think about this from the point of view of somebody who's making good reflections on a daily basis, are reflection tokens for that person a great investment, right? The obvious answer will be yes. Now, if said person is making terrible reflections, we can ask the same question. Are reflection tokens a great investment? And that person will probably say no, right? So straight away, depending on your outcome with a reflection token. So if you're invested in a reflection token and depending on what your experience is with that reflection token, then we're not talking about specific reflection tokens or projects. We're just talking about the reflection token itself. Depending on what the outcome of your investment is will depend on how you feel about the reflection token itself. And I think this is very important because if you are not able to get past just that one stumbling block in the first place, it makes it very difficult to open up, the reflection token space so you can see how the reflection token space is actually probably one of the best opportunities, of our time, I believe. So something else I really want to emphasize is that every project has a downward chart to the person who is losing money. And this is something that runs prevalent in Telegram groups, Discord groups, and so on. So if somebody is losing money in a reflection token, and generally, and I've tried to map this in terms of percentages, but generally, I'd say between 80 to 90% of people who got in to a reflection token while it was running very, very quickly and roughly around about all-time high or thereabouts, somewhere around about there, and are currently sitting on a loss, they will have a really hard time, dealing with a chart. Okay, to them the chart is just always down, always, because ultimately they got in at the top or thereabouts, or let's just say the top quarter, of the full move, and for them the chart is just constantly down all the time, right? And every time they look at the chart, it's just a reminder of their poor investment decision. It's a reminder of how crap the project is. It's a reminder of how the project isn't, fulfilling on its promises. It's a reminder how slow the project is. It's a reminder of how the project isn't, doing their marketing, and so on and so on and so on. We've all seen this, okay? But again, we come back to investor psychology because what happens is when you're investing in this way, and I don't know if anybody that's listening to this podcast at the moment is actually experiencing this. And if you are, I've been here, I've been where you are. I've been invested, and I'm currently invested, not in a reflection token, but in an investment where I got in, and I'm currently in a drawdown, quite a large drawdown, and that's absolutely fine because I'm seasoned and I'm quite happy to just let it ride. So I know what that feels like though, and I know what it feels like as you are experiencing it quite fresh, meaning if you're new to investing and this is the first time that you've got into an investment quite early, quite late, and you kind of got in at the top. I know what that feels like as well. So I think it's important to say that because, everything that I discuss comes from experience. I'm not just kind of trying to be clever or, condescending in any way. I'm coming from a place of experience. So I really wanted to emphasize this idea that when you think about investments, and people who are coming from this place of, I am currently sitting on a loss, everything is wrong with that project. Everything, and especially if you're new to the cryptocurrency market or trading or investing in general, everything for you is just hell. Just the project is wrong, the people are wrong, any advice anybody gives you is condescending, anybody that tries to help you along the way is, an idiot. Whatever it is, I've had it. I've jumped into conversations before and they're like, oh, don't even try it. If you're going to start giving me some spiel about, and I'm like, no worries. Do you know what I mean? And I'll just close my mouth. You're the enemy. Yeah. Everybody is the enemy to the person, okay, that is currently down on their investment, right? So every project as well has a Telegram or a Discord, okay, or has Telegram or Discord members that are constantly complaining. This is something else. And you'll notice that I'm slowly pushing away from the reflection of the token itself and going towards the psychology of the investors themselves, right? We're always going to have people who are continually complaining and moaning about everything that's going wrong in the project. I even know people who are currently up on their investments, right, in terms of the reflection tokens that they're invested in, and they're still complaining. So go figure, right? So I want to give you an example of how uninformed people can be sometimes and how much of a bubble some people are really in, okay? And I'm going to use the example of Swissball, right? Many of you don't know, who Swissball are, but if you don't know who Swissball are, I would go and check them out, right? Swissball has a market cap of almost $500 million. And at one point, that market cap was over $1 billion, right? And they were in the top 100 on CMC, okay? They dwarf all of these reflection token projects with over 610,000 users. They've got yield farming, staking, launchpad, they've got thematics on the way and so much more. And yet the same applies in terms of investor mentality. I sat through a year of listening to people whining and complaining about Swissball when they had over $1 billion in market cap and they're in the top 100, and I was in the Discord over at the Wealth and Trading channel, over at the Swissball Discord, talking to investors and trying to help investors. And all of you guys who are listening to me now who were there at the time, you remember obviously when Swissball went down, with that Bitcoin kind of mini flash crash when it happened. We had to sit through all of that. The point being, Swissball dwarfs all of these projects that we're currently invested in and that we talk about, on a daily basis, right? And yet the same still applies, right? There will always be people who complain and moan that things are not being done fast enough, good enough, or right. Yeah. So an investor that is losing money always knows how to run a successful project. And this is something else that I really want to emphasize. When a person starts to complain about a project not doing something, where's marketing? Where's this? Why haven't you followed through on this? Most of the time, people aren't even reading the roadmap. They're not even listening to, the AMAs. They're not even paying attention to chats. They're not even looking at the recent news. They literally just take a look at the chart, look at the Trust Wallet balance and say, oh, I'm down. Straight into the Discord, straight into the Telegram. When are you guys going to do marketing? Why haven't you guys, released this project? Why haven't you guys done this utility yet? Are there any updates? Are there any updates? Are there any updates? Are there any updates? And it's annoying, right? So does this have anything to do with the reflection token itself? Or is it about investor psychology? I honestly feel the investor, I'd say 95% of the time, maybe even more, 97, 98% of the time, creates the problem, not the project. Yeah? And let's make a clear distinction. We're not talking about rug pulls. We're not talking about scams. We're not talking about people who have been manipulated or had their money stolen. We're not talking about projects like that. These are completely different. We're talking about projects that are, solid, that have been around for a little while, and that are fulfilling their objectives and that they're pushing forward, with their roadmaps. Okay, the ones that we know. Okay, these are the ones that we're talking about right now. Those projects are the ones, okay, that are going through the motions. Okay, and investors look at those projects that they're invested in and say they're either fulfilling their objectives or they're not. This, that, the other, but ultimately, I'm invested. This is what's happening. Am I paying attention? Am I keeping on top of the news? Am I, staying close to the team? Am I listening to the AMAs? Do I even know what's going on with the current roadmap? Okay, and then how far into that roadmap that they actually are. You guys know, obviously, because you see it in my Discord, that people ask a question in the Discord, and before I've even had a chance to answer, somebody will answer and say, dude, did you even watch the AMA yesterday? Like literally yesterday. Yeah. It happened in the Discord. I think it was either last week or the week before, as of the recording of this video. Somebody asked a question and somebody piped up and said, did you watch the AMA yesterday? And the person said, no, why can't somebody just answer the question? And I DM'd this person and I said, listen, if you do not or cannot be bothered to watch the AMA about an investment that you have money in, then I'm going to kick you out of the Discord, because I don't want you here. I don't want a person like you who's invested in a project, who's put money on the line, and then you've come into my Discord and you're demanding that people answer your questions when you can't even be bothered to listen to the AMA of the particular project that it was. That's a scary situation for me. I mean, like, seriously, do you not care about your investment? Yeah, that worries me a lot, to be fair. So let's address a very important question. Who's really making the money in these reflection tokens? And I know a lot of you might be screaming at the screen right now saying, the projects, yeah, the founders, blah, blah, blah. Let's come back to the investor for a second. It's the quiet ones, the ones who plan, the ones who focus on either 1 to 3 projects only and 1 to 5 years down the line. And they say, you know what? I'm going to stay informed, but I'm not going to be swayed by the opinions of others. I'm going to slowly add to my positions. I'm going to take my time, and I'm going to focus only on those projects. They're my bread and butter. They're the ones that I'm going to be adding to. I'm not going to be spreading myself too thin. I have a plan, and I'm going to focus on executing that plan to perfection. And then once I've done that, I'm going to see my reflections increasing slowly but surely, and eventually I will be in a position where I can look back in maybe a year or 6 months to a year's time, and maybe I was getting a couple of dollars in reflections on a daily basis, and in a year's time I can look at it and say I'm getting $15 now, or maybe $20, possibly $30 or $40, maybe $50. This is where the focus needs to be. So to go back to reflection and consistency, I really feel that putting aside, I got in early, I didn't get in early. That person was lucky, I wasn't lucky. He got a whitelist, I didn't get a whitelist. That person has money, I don't. Yeah? Putting all of these variables aside and just focusing on, I got in with my limited funds. I wasn't early. This is just a hypothetical, because I know this for a fact. I know people who've done this. I got in, with very limited funds that I have. I wasn't early, and I'm just executing my plan weekly or monthly, taking my time, I'm letting the projects do their thing, and I'm focused on my bag size. I'm staying up to date and current with the projects that I'm invested in. I'm doing my best to learn and focus, on things that matter. I'm staying away from the noise in the cryptocurrency market. I'm trying to stay positive. I'm trying to help others where I can. And if I can't help others, I'm trying to learn about the things that I'm confused or stuck on, and I'm just focused in one place where I need to be focused. Okay. So I'm going to leave you with this question, and then we'll wrap it up for this podcast episode. What are you focused on? And I think where your focus is what you will receive in return. And effectively, I suppose we could say it like this: where your focus is what you will reflect back. And with that said, guys, I hope everyone's having a fantastic day or evening wherever you are in the world. And I look forward to speaking to you in the next episode. All the best. Take care. And remember, guys, stay crypto positive.